Hello, everyone, and welcome to our special edition of Twillow Talk today. We are part of a series this week called Survive and Thrive this holiday season. So, this is a special edition focused on empaths, highly sensitives, and sensitives, clairsentients. So, I am Tanis Coughlin from Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy, and I am joined by my beautiful co-host, Jennifer Jurkofsky. Would you like to tell us about you?
Yeah. I am Jennifer Jurkofsky, and I am with Twillow Lifestyle, of course, and I'm also at My Holistic Self Counselling or myholisticself.com. And happy to be here in this wonderful series this week. I know we do Twillow Talk normally, but it's great to be able to do it as part of the Survive and Thrive this holiday season, because truly, we need to be able to survive for those that find it really difficult. And of course, we want to do more than that. We want to be able to thrive.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's been the energies are interesting.
Just
The
say
last few Jen and I were talking about this, that it was like, we need to follow our own advice this week because we have to have our stuff in place. It's getting a little bit intense, and we're just starting to get into the holiday season now. So, and of course, the holiday season comes with all sorts of expectations around tradition and family and all of that stuff. And that all comes with its own energies as well. So there's the energies that we fight in the mall when we're doing our shopping. There's the energies that come at us from family, if there's any kind of drama stuff within the family. There's energies that are just there at the moment because of all the transition that we're going through as an earth and as a race, and a race being human race. And I just want to be specific.
Yeah, that's all we ever talk about.
It is.
Unless it's like alien races.
Well, that's a possibility. That's why I was being specific. We do have aliens that, Anyway, for us sensitive humans, this can be a lot. And we all experience it in different ways. So this week is all about helping us move through that. And how do we figure that out? So this week we've got a whole bunch of other ones set up. So every week at 5-ish, we'll be arriving here where you found us now. And I have experts coming in all week to talk to us about their different stuff. So like tomorrow, it'll be myself and Ruth Heyerdahl. And we're going to talk about crystals and oils, essential oils, to get us through the holidays and how do we deal with some of those things. And then we have Ramsey Cheedy on Wednesday, who will be doing grounding through the holidays. And then Gary Chatham on Thursday, who's going to come in and chat about doing protection and boundaries for the holidays. And then on Friday, at 5:00, we have Jacqueline Richards, who's coming in to talk about your amazing budgeting or your abundance over the holiday season. And then 7:00 that night, you'll actually find us on Ramsey Cheedy's channel with Open Mic. That is a show that he and I do once every 2 weeks. And this week, we're including it in part of this awesome series, Survive and Thrive. And Jen's going to be joining us, and also Gary will be joining us. So we'll be all four of us having a chat about empaths and do a little bit of a summary of the week and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a fun week. We've got lots going on here. So empathy.
Yeah.
Let's start with the word empathy. We usually pick cards, guys, but because it's a Survive and Thrive, we're just choosing the word. That's the difference today from our usual Twillow talk.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at, right, empaths, sensitives, and clairsentients, right? So it's all about those that feel. Mm-hmm. And that feel a whole lot more than themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think a big piece too, and I know last week we didn't do it, but I think it's an important piece because as of today until December 3rd, we're moving into the ninth gate, which, depending on how your take on that is, it's the taming the power of the small. It's really about focus that's going to empower our process.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to move us from inertia to really being determined in what we're doing, and then on to invincibility, right? And so this is a time that it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. But it's a time of great change, and that can be really, really hard. So
Yeah.
as beautiful and wonderful as it is, change often means that there's chaos and there's
Mm,
decline and there are things that are not going well. Otherwise, we wouldn't want to change in the first place,
exactly.
right?
We're humans. We kind of like the stagnant,
Mhm.
stable
Yeah.
stuff. Mm-hmm.
So how we respond during these times is really going to set us up for moving forward. And so when we talk about this idea of survive and thrive for the holiday season, as we go into this, we're not only setting ourselves up for what we're moving into for the holidays, but also what we're going to be moving into for the new year and what we're moving into for our future, right? Because whatever we do now is going to determine what we do next, because we only have
Mm-hmm.
right now to change it.
Well, I think that's always the case, but when we're in a very
Exactly.
potent time like this, I think that
Mhm.
that increases. So just for those of you that don't know, so Jen does a lot with human design. So these are transits that she's looking at from a human design perspective. So it's based on astrology and all that stuff too, but it's a different perspective from your standard astrology.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing, like as we're talking about, empaths and sensitives and clairsentience, right? We have such an amazing opportunity moving into this time to bring love
Mm-hmm.
into this time of change and into this time of opening. And really, we get hit by the chaos. We get hit by other people's frustrations, angers, emotions. You go to the mall and you're like, what is going on right now? I don't
Yep.
know what I'm even feeling anymore.
Yep.
And being able to really, you know, use tools to ground, to feel more secure in those times can be really, really helpful in allowing one, you to survive, and two, to thrive, right? And in
Yeah.
doing so, bringing love and bringing compassion and bringing peace to what would otherwise be a very potentially chaotic experience.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
I think that, that's such an important point to bring for people to focus on, to have that as a focus word, right? Love and joy, they're high vibration emotions. So the more we can focus on those
yeah.
during the holidays, not only does it keep us healthier,
Mhm.
um, it also helps to ensure that our vibration is in good space, that we are able to interact with others. So there's been an awful lot in the news
Yeah.
lately, and it's not always good, right? And as empaths and sensitives, we feel the collective.
Mhm.
So the important part about all of this is, how do we deal with that collective energy? So when you get places like a mall, I just want to explain what we mean by that stuff.
Yeah, of course.
So when you walk into a mall, you're tapped into not only the collective, but everybody else's energy, right?
Mhm.
So we're all in each other's energy field. So our auras, the outside part of our auras can actually go out like about 500 feet. So if you think about a mall and how many people are in a mall and how many people's auras you're in when you're in a mall, like no wonder we feel overwhelmed, right? The more sensitive we are, the more we feel from all of those people in their auras.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
want to tap into that a little bit with the human design piece, because
Mm-hmm.
with human design, we have our individual design. We are uniquely ourselves, and we have all of, our defined and our open centers and gates and channels and all that kind of stuff that really make us who we are. When we're with one other person, we either are able to help connect different channels and gates, we open things up within each other, we can understand things with each other, all of that kind of stuff. When we're with more than one person, we end up in what's called a penta. And in this, the group itself has its own identity, right? And our
Interesting.
individual identity is no longer that important. Now, put yourself in something like a classroom, put yourself in a conference, put yourself in a mall, a big family gathering that has, 16 or more people. You're in what's called a walk. Totally different now. There
A
is no
wall? Sorry, a wall? Okay.
WA.
Okay, cool.
Okay. There is no self in this. We do not exist as individuals when it comes to our mechanics when we're in those settings. And so we may feel like, we're not seen, we're not heard, we're not understood, we're not recognized. We don't know what to respond to or not respond to. We may not be able to figure those things out. And so, as an empath and a sensitive who's not only now caught up in this grander mechanic design and having difficulty figuring out how do I fit within that, you're also picking up everybody else's stuff and taking that
Yes.
on, right? So now it's not only, oh my God, who am I and how do I fit into all of this? And why are people not seeing me for me? I'm also feeling your stress and your anxiety and your frustration and your anger and your disappointment and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Right? So when we talk about tools, we're looking at it on many, many levels here. Right?
Yeah,
One,
for sure.
how do I deal with my own stuff that's coming up?
Yeah,
How do
because we
I,
have our stuff too, right?
yeah,
Being empaths, it's not just everybody else. It's
yeah.
like we do have our own that comes out too.
Right?
We're human, we got our stuff too.
Yeah. And then how do we manage when we get bombarded with all of these other things?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I loved what you said, Tanis, about love and joy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because we talk about, and we talked a little bit about it yesterday when we talked about, blocks.
Yeah.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
some of our major blocks come from our own understanding of things and our own limited belief system. And so if we walk into a situation and we feel not heard, not welcomed, insecure, if we can within ourselves go, that's okay. You do you. I'm going to bring love and joy because that's where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So much power in that.
Mm-hmm. Empowering. Absolutely, because we have control over our own energy, right? I say that we don't necessarily have control over what's coming at us. When I say we have control over our own energy, it's about what we do with that,
Yeah.
right? If we don't have the tools, it's harder to have that control. And so that's where we talk about things like energy management and energy management. We're creator beings. We can create management over our energy in terms of it's a thought that changes our energy. Like we have a positive thought, it brings it up by 10 megahertz. We have a negative one, it brings it down by 12. That's a lot of control over our energy that we don't realize that we have. And so the more we can think positive thoughts and fill our cup with positive, beautiful things around us and appreciate those beautiful things. That's the other thing. We have to be aware and notice and appreciate the beautiful things around. And when we can do that, we start to keep our vibration higher. It's much easier to look at things positively. So when we have a high vibration, so the trick is we tend to get in spirals, and I think that's what happens around the holidays often, right? We get into a spiral, we get caught up in somebody else's energy. So this is like for an empath, right? We go out to the store, we walk through a couple of clouds of people that are frustrated or angry, and all of a sudden we're frustrated or angry, and we start a downward spiral, right? I'm frustrated and angry. I don't know why. That's frustrating because I'm frustrated. And then right? And then you go home and everything you do doesn't work quite right because your energy's off and your interactions with your partner is not quite right, and your frustration with your job, there's something that happens with work, and you're like in this downward spiral. And really, the tools are there to help you to stop the spiral, right? And so that's why this week, that's part of why we developed this week actually, was because we wanted to make sure that people had tools. So one of the simplest is mindset. One of the simplest is observation of beauty and gratitude for that beauty, and stepping into the small pleasures. Small pleasures being that 20-minute bubble bath, right? Make sure you have that. Or if you absolutely love to have your cup of coffee sitting in a window in the sun. It's a little cold for us up. We're in Ottawa. A little cold to like have it outside. But like if you've got a beautiful window, sit in the sun, enjoy the sun in the window while you have your coffee or your tea or whatever that is, right? And I know for us, we put up our Christmas tree the last couple of days. And for me, that's it's a mixed emotion thing, mostly joy. And so for me, that's a joyful process because I go through everything and there's so many ornaments on there that remind me of joyful things. So, I could start off feeling pretty down, but by the time I pull out each of them and smile at, oh, that was so and so that gave me this one. Or do you remember when we got that one? Oh, this is the first Christmas we were together. Those kinds of things come up. And if you can take the moment to enjoy those thoughts instead of just, we got to get this tree, that's what I mean by enjoying and finding joy in those small things, right?
I really appreciated what you said about the mixed emotions, because I think that, again, we talk so much about, I want to have this emotion, I don't want to have that emotion, I want to feel this way, I don't want to feel that way. And what ends up happening is, and I think I've talked about this before, even on here, but we hold all of the emotions within us all the time. It's not that we, suddenly have anger and, compassion is gone. It doesn't work that way. But what happens is we grab hold of an emotion. And if it's fleeting and it's one we want, then we get upset.
Yeah.
Right? If it's one that we don't like, we're like, why are you here? I don't want this emotion. Right? But we grab hold of them and we make them who we are, as opposed to allowing them to flow all of the time. And if we recognize, okay, and the Christmas tree is such a great example, and I know from my own experience as well, it's bittersweet. There's quite a bit of bitter around it. Right?
I've got some sadness for mine. We've lost family members around that time of year, and so there's ornaments there that remind me of them. And I mean, it's beautiful because I pull it out and think of the love, but I also have the moment of sadness about, geez, it'd be nice if they were here,
Yeah. And that's where what we choose to grab hold of is so important. Right? And, because again, with this idea, like the empathy and the sensitive and the clairsentient, we feel exponentially, right? So that memory comes in and you're there again. You're reliving that moment and experiencing all of the emotions that were happening then. Right?
Which is wonderful and not. That, they talk about that being like the gift and the curse of being an empath is really like, it's easy for us to do that, tap in, but then you get both. And so for us, I think one of the biggest tools we can do is shift into this, what you're talking about, Jen, in terms of not judging the emotions necessarily as good or bad. Because we've talked about this before, as them being like a signpost about what's happening.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is where practices like meditation and grounding and the self-care, like Tanis was talking about, are so vital foundationally to being able to survive and thrive. And not just in the holidays, but every day.
Yeah.
But in the holidays, emotions are heightened across the board. And we experience that on a regular basis. And just as much as there is more frustration maybe with shoppers or traffic or long days or trying to get everything done, there is also a lot of love and joy and gratitude and a sense of giving and wanting to be, kind and compassionate to others. And so, as an empath, as a sensitive, as a clairsentient, notice what you're tapping into and what you're feeling, because that's going to make all of the difference as well. And I just want to go back for a minute, if I can. Well, you were talking about, what you notice, and I know we've talked about this a bit before, especially when we talk about like manifesting and stuff like that, right? Because there is a lot of this kind of, if you think it, it will come. And I think that it's an important thing for us to realize that. I'm going to use this example. You get a new car, because I know everybody's had this example. This is true. You get a new car. All of a sudden, you see that car everywhere.
Right.
Are there more of those cars on the road?
No. It's just awareness.
On the day before, but you're aware of them. They're in the forefront of your thoughts. It's what you're seeing because it's what is present for you in your mind. And this is where part of what Tanis was talking about earlier is also so very important, because if we're constantly thinking, oh, I hate the holidays, I don't want to do this, I don't want to go shopping, I don't like shopping, right? So that idea of like, I do not want to go into the mall, I do not want to do shopping, I do not want to be around all of those people, that trip is going to be horrendous, right? Over the weekend, I had to go to the mall, and I thought, okay, I know the tools I have. Use them, Jen, right?
Yeah.
What we were saying earlier. Use our own
Use
tools.
the tools.
I went with my partner. I went with my kids. And I was like, okay, I love them. I can ground into them. And even if they're not having a great time, my love and grounding into that is going to help me to be able to deal with whatever bounces off of me, right? It's like a way of shielding ourselves and saying, okay, right? I'm going to strengthen my aura. I'm going to bring myself in, get those feelers in a little bit, and I'm going to ground in the people that I love, that I'm with.
I just want to be clear with everybody too. This is not, she's not doing the energy vampire thing. I know that's a common term out there. This is not what she's talking about. She's talking about really almost combining the energies to create a bigger protection bubble. That's more the visual. It's not I just want to be clear on that so that we're not.
I didn't even think of that. I'm so sorry.
No, I just wanted to be clear. Oh, good.
No, it's about taking my own process and my own work and then making the focus taking care of my family, right? And as I do that, when stuff comes and goes, instead of me being so focused on, oh, I felt that, oh, I didn't like that, oh, that person's angry, oh, I'm so sorry, your hip hurts, oh my goodness, that person's going to pass out. Okay, yeah, they're hungry. That person's really pissed at that person. Whoo, don't know what happened there, right? Because this is what happens when we feel really strongly.
That's right.
So instead, what I'm doing is I'm focusing on what's going on with my family.
Yeah.
Okay, my partner's really hot in here. We should probably move on. The kids are getting antsy. Okay, let's go get something to eat, guys, right? And I'm focusing specifically on where my love and joy is and taking care of that. And that helps to block out a lot of what else is going on around me. Does that make more sense?
Yes. Yes, because you're focused on your love, right?
Yeah.
You're focused on the love and the joy. And that's the thing. So do you find a lot of joy at the mall? Maybe not. But you do find love if you're there with friends or family, right? Or you can find the love of. So for me, the part about the mall, which I find enjoyable, I'm a bit of a hummer, so I tend to hum when I shop, right? So when there's Christmas carols going on, I'm like not particularly focused on the Christmas carol, but if I bring my focus to the Christmas carol as I'm walking along, and I find joy in that because I love the music part of it. So, I'm focused on that, and I'm focused. This is if I'm alone in a mall, right? So I'm not you don't have somebody that you love with you, focus on that, right? Do the Christmas carols bring you joy?
Yeah.
Do the decorations in the mall, they're always beautiful. Focus on some of those, right? Unless that's triggering, because we all have our triggers. But you pick the things that you enjoy. Do you enjoy that time away from the family for a little bit, to just go to the mall and just be you, not somebody's mom, not somebody's daughter, not somebody's whatever, right, sister? Can you focus on the joy of just having the freedom to go into this store and that store, and right? So it is about that focus, and how can you focus your attention. So just because you don't go with family, you can still tap into those things that you enjoy. Doesn't mean you're going to tap into all the person pushing you and all of that other energy that's happening. You can tap into the good stuff. It just takes a little bit of practice, and the more you practice, the easier it becomes to do that sort of
There
thing.
is a component, though, here about going in with the intention. I'm going to focus on my joy.
Mm-hmm.
I am, and I'm going to be aware of what's coming up for me, right? And if you need to take a break, you take a break,
Yeah.
right? And if you're good to keep going, you keep going. But it's really, can you honor what's happening? And if you are picking up stuff and feeling things from other people, can you recognize when it's not yours?
Mm-hmm.
Can you allow it to pass through? Can you pour love and joy into that?
Yeah. And that's not always easy, guys, when you're out there. Like, you know, Jen and I often chat, and like, Jen, I'm feeling this. I don't really think it's mine. What are your thoughts? And it's like, yeah, I'm feeling it too. It must be collective, that sort of conversation. So it's good to check in too, with yourself and with others if you've got them around. And I think also the other part of that is asking yourself what you need in the moment. Like you were saying, do I need a break? Okay, so periodically while you're out doing stuff, whether it's in a mall or anywhere, what do I need right now?
Yeah.
Do I need a quiet moment? Do I need to have some water? Do I need to sit for a minute? What do I need to do? Do I need to redo my tubing? So tubing is a technique that we can give you as well. You may get this again this week, but so a good tubing technique is to think about the area that's around you, that you're in your auric space, and call in a tube of light. So Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Uriel, and Archangel Raphael. If it's appropriate, for as long as it's appropriate, please tube me. And that brings in this big tube of light that comes down around you. And that helps to transmute stuff as it comes at you. Right? So that if that's something that you're comfortable, that's another tool you can use. Quick and easy. And so I always do that before I go out to the mall or anywhere, actually. I do it regularly. So what are some of your regular practices, Jen, that you do before you go?
Yeah. Well, I was actually, as you were saying that, I was thinking about in, energy medicine, just kind of, working with the aura, right? And fluffing the aura, figure eights, right? Bringing it in, strengthening it, deciding that I want to pull it in a little bit, right? Make sure it's connected to me, not out too far, right? And bring that in and really strengthen it so that it feels good and solid and that you're protected, right? And kind of set that intention, whether it's with Reiki or whatever you want to do, of, only light, love, joy is going to come through, right?
So
And the rest is.
what I want to do, Jen, is I'm just going to make myself small because we can only see part of you. So if you can just do a quick little demo, perhaps,
Oh,
of
sure.
what you were doing. So let's do
Sure.
this.
Okay.
And then you can just do a little demo of what you mean by that.
Yeah. So I don't know
Hello!
if you won't be able to see the whole I guess I can stand. Okay. So I don't know if this will make I can stand and step back.
Yeah,
Okay. So
awesome.
basically, we want to decide what we want to do with our aura, right? So I'm going to bring in figure eights so you can see how my hands are going, right? And I'm just going from me out, in and out, out. And I'm going all directions. I want to hit the thing in my ceiling, but all directions, right? I'm even going to do a little bit of what's behind me, right? And go down and all of that. And then as I'm doing it and I'm clearing it out and I'm making sure that it's in and connected to my chakras and back out again, right? And making sure that there's no feelers out, because we do that, right? To feel safe, we
Yeah.
put our feelers out, bringing them all in and visualizing them all coming back in. And then I'm going to pick, okay, what color feels really good for me today? As you guys know, I really love purple, so let's go with some purple, right? And I'm going to bring in that purple, and I'm going to just have that come in, and I'm going to see myself kind of fluffing that purple through my aura. And it's going to come in and go out, in and out.
And what does your aura look like when you're doing that? Is it like a cloud? Is it like, what is it? What does
Yeah.
it look like in terms of?
Well, if I'm doing this specifically, if like sometimes I'll do this every day just to feel grounded and connected and all of that. For protection, it might be more solid, right? If I'm doing it for
Right.
protection, I might actually see that kind of bit of a translucent shell around me, a bit more so
Mhm.
than just kind of I think of an incense smoke, right? When I'm
Yeah.
thinking about, like, that's kind of the vision that comes for me, is this bit of purple just kind of flowing in and out and all of that. And just kind of seeing that within the shell of what it is.
Yeah.
That's how I visualize it, right? But you need to visualize it however it works best for you and what resonates for you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Does anybody have any questions? I want to welcome you all. And we can answer some questions in the chat if you have them, because I know that it's a big concern. So if you put your questions in the chat, they do come through to us and we can take a look at them. We'd love to have a conversation. So, join us if you can. Yeah, so daily practice, I mean, meditation, of course, helps as well when we're going through our daily practices, right? Making sure that we have some moments of mindfulness is super important too.
Yeah.
So, because that raises the vibration, right? So, we talked about positive thoughts and negative thoughts and how they affect our vibration. Meditation brings it up by 25 megahertz, just doing a few minutes of it. So that's awesome. A big a big ROI, as we say in the business, right? In business, it's the ROI, the return on investment. So you put in a few minutes, but you gain a whole lot more energy just by doing that. So it's something to get used to when you first start thinking about meditation, because you think, well, I don't have the time. Well, it actually will make you time in the long run, because you'll have more energy, you'll be able to focus easier, and you'll get more done. So you'll be actually more productive if you are doing
And it'll
even a few
strengthen
moments.
it, it strengthens that part of us too, that resolve, right? If you think about like a mantra meditation, you can have that mantra, you can carry that mantra with you as you go into family events, or whatever it is that causes you to have some of that stress during the holidays, and bring that in. And so when you're feeling anxious, it's like, I'm safe, I am loved, I am loved, right? Whatever your mantra is in that moment, to be able to bring it in and feel that, and then release whatever might be coming up from.
Oh, you have that other technique, Jen, that works really well too. The one that resets the system. When you put your hands behind your head and you.
Oh, yeah.
That's
This
a great
one,
one.
yeah, this one actually is great. It's about the healing power of the vagus nerve. So this actually came from
Vagus nerve. Yeah.
Stanley Rosenberg and his institute.
I'm going to
And
put you on big again so that you can
sure.
demo again. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to try this layout to see if that's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this
Because
one, just to get into a little bit of like the science of it. So we talk about, everybody's heard of fight, flight, freeze, fawn, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have these kind of defense mechanisms that are here to save us. But what ends up happening is we end up our bodies, different systems shut down. This is where if you're, in that heightened arousal state, digestion shuts down. We start to have irritable bowel. We start to have all kinds of problems with that. And so if we stay in those states too long, we're not in social engagement. We're not able to connect with other people, and we're not able to really be present. So getting back into a ventral vagal state brings us back into social engagement, brings us back into a place where we're able to connect with others. And this technique that Stanley Rosenberg talks about, it's called the basic exercise. It's super simple. And if you do it and you allow yourself the time, because if you're really activated, it might take a little bit longer for this to come into place. But once it settles in, you actually can feel your blood pressure come down. So don't get up from it too quickly, because you could feel a little lightheaded in that moment, right? But it's what you do, you cross your fingers together, and you're just going to put them behind your head. And the idea here is that you're going to put them just, this part of the back of your head where it kind of goes in a little bit and it's starting to connect to that spinal cord place.
For those of you that are into chakras, that's the back of the third eye chakra. It's called the mouth of God.
Yeah. And so it's also the input of tons of energy where a lot of different things come in for us, right?
Yeah, channeling. I deal in channeling.
Yep. So we're just going a little bit right there. All right. And then what we're going to do is I like to rest back and put my head back. So I think you guys can still see me here.
Yep.
But the idea here is that I want to really allow for full relaxation. So by laying down or resting back, you're allowing yourself, one, to really feel the pressure between your interlocked fingers and the back of your head, because you want to feel it, right? You don't want to just kind of be gently touching. Sorry, guys, I know I'm talking. If you're putting your arms up, just give it a minute and then you can try it. But you want to feel that pressure. So laying your head back on something can really help with that. Now I'm going to stay upright as I do this, only because I want you to really be able to see what I'm doing with my eyes. So the idea here is that you're going to go into that position, rest yourself back, keeping your head as straight as you can. Okay, so we don't want to move at our neck. We want to keep our head straight, and we want to move our eyes only as far to the right as is comfortable. Okay, you're not trying to strain them. You're not trying to see behind your head. You just want to go as far to the right as is comfortable. And you're just going to stay like that and relax. Regular breathing until you get a sigh, a swallow, or a yawn. And that's the release. So it's a sigh, which is just an extra kind of inhale. So you're breathing and then right? Or a yawn often can be that sign, right? Oh, here we go, right? Or a swallow. And saliva in the mouth actually, we can get into that later, but that also calms us. So that's where the swallow comes in.
So we go to the right and then...
Yeah, once you're done and you've gotten that, you come back to center, take a breath. And to the left. Same thing, okay? You're going to stay there again until you get a yawn, a swallow, or a sigh. Okay? Now, once you have that, especially if you're laying back, just bring your arms down and allow your head to rest. Take some deep breaths. Right? And now you want to make sure how you're feeling before you just sit up. Okay? So if you're feeling lightheaded, if you're feeling a little dizzy, if things feel a little spinny, just breathe normally. Okay? And allow yourself to come back. And then once you feel good, you can maybe lift your head up. Okay. All right. And bring yourself up. Slow. Taking those breaths and come on back. And this is something that you can do, like if you're at a family's place for the holidays, even if you're out and you just go into a washroom somewhere, do some breathing.
Yeah.
If you can go into a room where you can actually lay down and have some privacy and do it, that's great. I don't recommend doing it sitting up or standing up until you've done it laying down and allowed yourself to feel what it is to come back, to make sure that you can just do that without that blood pressure dropping, because we don't want anybody falling over.
Yeah, exactly.
But what you'll find over time, and what he talks about in his book, is that in the beginning, when you start to do this, it might take a couple times to get you to stay in that social engagement state, especially if you're continually being activated. But the more you do it, the more impact it has and the longer it lasts. So really taking the time to make that part of your practice, right? Doing that before bed to help you calm down to sleep. Like, there's so many useful pieces to this that could help in bringing us back into that calm ventral vagal state.
Mm-hmm. That's a great exercise. I have done it a few times, and every time, I feel like, okay, now I'm ready.
Yeah.
Another practice that I learned this summer, actually, from a good friend of mine, Jane Gatman. She was doing some work with. I was doing some work with the sacred feminine, and so when we tend to get really worked up, where usually starts to be a fear involved. So how do we get out of that? So really, if you picture all of your energy going into that womb space, you don't have to be a woman for this. It's in your pelvic region, right? It's that energetic womb space. If we bring our energy down into that womb space and allow it to sit in there, this is a very safe, because it activates your root chakra too, right? So it's very much about that safety and security. So you tend to feel much more like grounded and safe and secure in that womb space. So that's another sort of visual that you can do. You can visualize yourself sitting in the womb space and then adding light down there. And that can really be a nice, quick, easy visualization. So I actually do that before I come on here, guys. So it's kind of a take a deep breath, and I like focus my energy and pull it down. And then I'm like, okay, let's do this, because it's all of a sudden you just feel more grounded, and that it helps with the vagus nerve stuff too. So yeah, just another little trick. So what else do we have to say about being an empath? I think, when we look at the empath thing, it's not just about what we see in our world either, right? We haven't really touched on the other stuff yet. And I think sometimes it's also about what we don't see, because we have all these other dimensions and frequencies around us that we are not necessarily able to measure or see, but they're there. They act on our energy field. So much like a dog whistle, our hearing range is here and a dog whistle is out here. So we don't hear it because it's not in our hearing range, but it's still acting on our system. And so we have other things that are in higher frequencies, which is like other dimensions, that we often will feel what's happening a little bit because it is out there. It's not necessarily as strong as what we're feeling from a person standing there or whatever. But if you're super sensitive, you might be feeling some of those things that are acting on your system and just not even really be consciously aware of what's happening. So just to, that's where that, is this mine? What is this? How do I just focus on my own, right? Hi, Ted Bricks. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you. So that's, that would be another thing to just be aware of, that there's those other dimensions, because the other dimensions are happening all around us, right? All the time. So when we can just be aware that there are other things, it helps us to notice what's ours.
Yeah, it's amazing how much we don't actually know from our senses in conscious thought, right? Like, just in our own, all of the crystalline grid and all of the neutrinos and all of the things that, are constantly coming and going that are impacting us, plus our conditioning from each other, plus our past, like our generational lives, and then our past lives.
Yeah.
right? We're bringing in so much with us that it's not just what we see and hear and feel and sense right here, right now.
Yeah.
And
I saw a video today. Some of you may have seen it. And it was talking about how our DNA can hold 70 billion megabytes of information. This is like a whole lot of zeros and ones going on here, guys. So when you talk about that, it's it's a lot of information, that, and we can't possibly process it all at once. And so that's why, we have things where we will feel this part, and we can switch our attention, right, to these different quadrants in our memory and all that. Yes, Ted Brooks, go ahead. He says, I have a question in this regard. Please feel free to ask your questions. That's awesome. So, yeah.
yeah.
So that was kind of a cool video. Take a look at my it's I think I posted on my personal page. If you go to my personal page, you'll see the video there. It's a TikTok video, I think, about that. So it's pretty cool. They've done some science stuff, scientific studies about that. And what he was saying was that they had taken human DNA and they had downloaded a book into the human DNA. I'm not sure how they did this. It's a TikTok video, guys. You can look up the study, but they downloaded this book into the DNA, and then they were able to download it from the DNA back into the computer.
Cool.
So I was like, maybe our science is making some progress.
Well, it's funny because as you're talking about that, I'm thinking about like quantum physics, right? And all of that, and what they're coming to understand of, our vibrational fields and our interconnectedness and all of that. And it's pretty incredible. What science is finally coming to understand as reality that so many, teachings have already had. I'm just going to grab my cord to plug in.
Of course. So we do have the question here from Ted Brooks. So how can empaths protect themselves from feeling emotionally exhausted often? So this is a big question, Ted Brooks. Actually, we're going to be having Survive and Thrive this whole week at 5 p.m. So we gave you some tips on this one. So if you take a look back, there's the tubing technique. There's the what do you call the one that you did, the vagal nerve one?
Exercise.
Yeah, the basic exercise, vagal nerve reset.
There's strengthening your aura.
Strengthening your aura. She's actually demoed these things, Ted Brooks, in this video. So if you go back and take a look at the earlier part when we're all done, you'll be able to see some of those techniques. And the tubing technique that I talked about, calling in the 4 archangels and asking them to bring in a tube. So those are just some of the options that you can choose. But we're actually going to be talking about it all week because it is such a big topic. And the holidays is definitely a time when we tend to have that emotional exhaustion, right? And it's not just from what's in our 3D. That's what we were just talking about. So we have to be aware that there's other stuff happening that might not actually be in our direct awareness or being picked up.
I do want to address your question though, Ted, with something we did kind of touch on this earlier, and it's worth going back to listen to as well, is just the idea of what are you holding on to, right? When it comes to emotions, because we become emotionally exhausted when we're holding on, right? When we're gripping and we're taking them in and we're owning the emotions that are happening. That's where emotional exhaustion comes from. And so when you have this emotion come in, and let's say it causes an argument, right? Now, look at all of the emotions that we're holding on to, whatever it was that originally started the argument, right? Whatever was coming in from the other person and all of the emotions that they're feeling. Because remember, empaths, sensitives, clairsentients, we're feeling it, right? Whatever potential malicious malpractice, which not that anybody intends to do it, but when we have those negative thoughts, we're putting them out there. So now we're feeling that coming at us as well, right? Plus what all of the stuff that's going on in the collective that's triggering so much of this issue. And so all of this is this huge ball of emotions. And if we try to hold it, if we try to manage it, if we try to do anything with it,
Yeah.
we will exhaust ourselves. But if we could step back and go, okay, there's some anger. All right, what's going on for me?
Mm-hmm.
We may not even end up in that argument in the first place. And if we do, because, we do, let's be real, right? And then it's like, oh, well, now I feel this too. Okay, what's going on there? Oh, okay, that's their sadness. Okay, and their anger. Okay, so now I've got mine and I've got theirs, right? And then some of the energies and things like that from other dimensions that come in that sometimes like to poke at that stuff. That's real. It happens, right? And now all of a sudden it's amplified. And we're going, okay. So if we can use those tools, one of the other things I want to do, and this is going to be really important, especially if you feel like this kind of real buildup, and this is another energy medicine thing that I love, love, love. It's called dumping the venom, but you can use it for so many different kinds of emotions. But basically, you're taking all of them, right? So you're bringing them in. And as you breathe in, you're bringing them all in, just all of that frustration about the situation. And I can't believe that person couldn't listen to me. And I don't understand why they can't just hear what I'm saying. And why does everybody just reject what I'm trying to do? And whatever it is, right? I'm just using that as an right? Okay. There's still some left. Right? You do that 3 times, shake it off. Do it more if you have to. But allowing yourself that I'm not holding on to any of this, right? Can really help us to move forward. And I know for those of you who are going to be like, what are you doing with all that energy? Why are you throwing all that bad stuff out there? I'm not. It's my beliefs about it, and I am dismantling it, disseminating it, and dissolving it as I push it out.
And
Okay.
you'll notice that she pushes it down. So she's pushing it into the earth, and the earth transmutes that stuff like nothing. So she's asking Mother Earth to help her with that. She's not pushing it out onto anybody.
No.
So,
So I just wanted to clarify that piece of it, because I know, that can be a part. And there's like deeper visualizations that you can do if you really want to, where you actually see all of that negativity, all of that angst, all of the emotional turmoil coming down, pooling around you. You can see it in like a mucky color, whatever that looks like for you, right? And then you're going to bring in some gold, right? Some celestial gold. You're going to bring that in. Mother Earth is going to give you some beautiful silver. You're going to swirl them together, and it transmutes all of that muckiness, right? And as it transmutes it into love, joy, peace, all of those higher vibration things that we want to bring, okay, now let's swirl that around us, right?
mm-hmm.
Allow that to now settle in, right? And then let's lock ourselves up, put the key away, right? So there's longer meditative practices that you can do to dump it all. And then there's that quick, like, I just need to get rid of this right now kind of practices. But when we get to that place of being emotionally exhausted, my first question is, what are you holding on to?
Yeah. It's about letting it flow through
Mm-hmm.
and allowing. So I hope that's helpful, Ted Brex. The other things that we've done too, you can take a look at that. And I think the empath thing, I remember saying, we're born this way, or we have things that happen that create it for us. And I remember, a big key thing about empaths is they get told all their lives they're over emotional. Not everyone, but a lot of people get told you're over emotional, you're too sensitive, you're too this. And I remember being told that one time, and I was like, do you think I want to feel everybody else's stuff? Like, do you think I want to feel this much?
Mm-hmm.
And, it is a bit of a gift now.
Mm-hmm.
You can change it to be a beautiful gift. I do use it in my practice, my healing practice. it can help you create beautiful connections with those around you. So being an empath is not all bad. It's a beautiful gift as well when you can step into that, because not only do you feel the junky stuff, but the amount of joy and love that you feel from others in those times is a beautiful way to go into the holidays. So focus on the love and joy this holiday season. That's wishful thinking on my part. Hi, Annie. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us.
And on that note, because I love that, is, sometimes we're in really, really horrible situations.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to find the joy in anything that we're dealing with in the moment. But if we're able to look at ourselves and honor the truth of our being and find joy in that, find joy in, the snowfall, find joy in, baking some cookies, find joy in whatever it is that brings it for you, right? And that can be so many different things. And just because we're going through, or we have to be around people we don't want to be around, or, whatever might be happening, remember that those things can be right there in our focus again if we bring them back in.
It's where we choose to send our attention.
Mm-hmm.
So send your attention to love,
Mm-hmm.
compassion for self and others.
Yeah.
And come back and join us from now till Friday at 5 p.m. for our Survive and Thrive this holiday season, with lots of great professionals with lots of skills. Thank you for joining us today on Twillow Talk as we talk about the empath journey. Empath, highly sensitive, clairsentience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Tanis Coughlin from the Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy, and I'm joined by...
I am Jennifer Jurkofsky. I'm with Twillow Lifestyle, as well as My Holistic Self, myholisticselfcounseling.com, and really hope that you're able to find your joy, bring in that love, be grateful for every tiny little thing, and really survive and thrive this holiday season.
Sending you all lots of love. We'll do that little heart thing. Sending you lots of love. Have a great evening.